Bros! What's up, guys? Yugi Bros here with Season 3. Dueling Book finally has the new speed cards from both Ultimate Predators and Scars of Battle on here, so we will finally take them for a test run and see how they work out. There's a lot of cool new cards that we've gotten. I'm really excited for the shakeup that both of these products have presented to the game, and I can't wait to test as many different things as possible. Today, we are playing what I've been really on lately, which is the deck I've been dubbing Hint of Vanilla. Shout out to my girlfriend Altair for that one. And she is playing a deck called Heavy Metal Bois. She also named that as well. We are both playtesting two decks that we think are really fun for the format. The machine deck's really cool. It revolves around the Heavy Metal Raiders field spell. It's close. It's definitely close. We just have to find a way to better protect the field spell, and then this deck is a force to be reckoned with. And then I'm playing this normal monster deck that revolves around Heat Wave and Order to Charge, which kind of controls the board. It has a huge controlling presence. So without further ado, let's get into the duel. So we draw our hand. We are going second. We won the toss. They obviously start the game with Heavy Metal Raiders. One of the downsides, I'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about Hidden Parasite. We're playing Hidden Parasite. This card says, flip the skull over to activate it. Once per turn, you can change all monsters on the field to insects until the end of the turn. Also, any battle damage your opponent takes is halved for the rest of the turn. You can use the skill up to twice per duel. So this is really cool. Last format was kind of dominated by It's My Lucky Day, turning Dice Foon into either an MST or a Twin Twister, depending on what you wanted to do for 1,000 life. This skill lets you play Dark Hole in your deck in the form of Eradicating Aerosol, which says destroy all insect monsters on the field. It changes yours as well, so if you have a big board presence, may not want to use that card. But what's dumb is that if you play two Eradicating Aerosols in a deck, with this skill, you essentially are playing two Dark Holes in the main deck. That's really good against something like Relinquish, gets it off the field. Relinquish can only protect itself by battle, so you have that upside, and many more upsides to get rid of the field as well. Heavy Metal Raiders, on the other hand, says you start the duel by flipping it over, putting it in your field spell, and starting with one less card. The first time each Dark Machine monster you control would be destroyed by battle. Each turn, it is not destroyed, and if you took battle damage from that battle, the monster gains attack equal to the damage, as long as this card stays on the field, and keeps that attack as long as it stays on the field as well. Once per turn, if a monster you control that was originally a Dark Machine monster you control destroys a card or cards on the field by battle or card effect, you can special summon a Dark Machine monster from your hand. This card is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It sucks that you start with one last card, but I feel like it justifies it. We just have to find a way to better protect this, and then this is an insane deck, guys. Like, this deck, main two monsters it'll set are Dekoichi, the Battle Locomotive, and Blastsphere. And Blastsphere I'll get into in a second as well. But Dekoichi has the flip effect of, if it flips, you draw a card, and then you draw extra cards equal to how many freight cars you have on the field. What's cool is that they don't die once per turn. So if you set freight cars on turn 1 and they swing into it, doesn't die, it flips face up, it doesn't die by battle. Next turn you can set like a Dekoichi, and if they swing into that one or whatever, they flip and you draw 2 cards as opposed to 1. There are a lot of applications to this, but what's cool, and we can use the freight car as an example again, is that if you have the freight car attack an opponent's monster which is stronger, you may take the damage, but it will gain attack equal to the difference. So now it's the same strength as the monster it attacked into, making it so that the following turn, since it can't die by battle once per turn, you could crash it, it won't die, and you essentially start knocking out of your opponent with beat sticks of cards that you normally wouldn't have beat sticks of, and I feel like the freight car is like the perfect example of that. So this card has a lot of applications. Like I said, if we could just find a way to better protect it, there are cards to get this back, Magician of Faith and Jar of Avarice, but those are both very slow. You have to draw into Jar of Avarice, you have to draw into Magician of Faith, and then you have to hope Faith doesn't get destroyed while face down, because then you're not getting this back anyways. But yeah, like, if we can find a way, like, this deck's really promising going forward. So, we normal summon Battle Ox. We're playing 317 beat sticks. We're playing Battle Ox, Kabazuls, and Warrior de Greffer. We were playing Axe Raider. We cut it for Battle Ox because we wanted fewer RFI targets, because people are still going to play that card. Even if they don't main it, they're definitely going to side it still, I feel. So, it's a good way to get around that. Blastsphere, though. Let's talk about this card. If this face-down defense position card was attacked by an opponent's monster before damage calculation, equip this card to the attacking monster. Then, during your opponent's next standby phase, destroy the monster this card was equipped to, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack the destroyed monster had on the field. This is insane in 4,000 point Yu-Gi-Oh! If a Blue Eyes swings into this, and this goes and equips and then destroys the Blue Eyes the following turn, they take 3,000 to the face. That's 3/4 of their life right there. 75% of the game is done through one card. I'm surprised they gave it to us. But they gave Bandit Keith a lot of options here to mess with its field spell, so I guess the more the merrier. But be looking out for this card anytime your opponent sets a monster in the future, because this is definitely a scary card. So they have the Set Dekoichi and the Blast Sphere. The reason we didn't attack last turn was because we know against this deck, if you swing into a face-down defense and it doesn't die by battle, it's either Blast Sphere and you're going to get screwed real quick, or it's Dekoichi and you're just fueling the fire. So we play a Heat Wave the following turn. This card says you have to activate at the beginning of your main phase 1, and neither player can special summon or normal summon effect monsters until your next draw phase. This deck doesn't care because all of its monsters are normal monsters, so we can play right through it, whereas they are forced to set under this. Now this deck that I'm playing against, this machine deck, kind of sits on the theme of sitting up defenses anyways until it goes in for a kill. So it doesn't affect it too much, but it does prevent the field spell from summoning the Barrel Dragon for free, which is what I'm trying to do here. We also have Order to Charge in hand, which targets a non-token normal monster I control. I tribute that monster at resolution, and if I do destroy one monster my opponent controls. What's great about this is that I have normal monster fodder for days, so it doesn't really matter. And destroying a monster my opponent controls doesn't target, so this gets around non-targetable things like Lord of D and BS like that. So we're going to set Order to Charge. This is a quick play, by the way, for some strange reason. This is also an ultra rare in the new deck, which is pretty cool. So we set that in Dust Tornado. We feel like we had to main Dust Tornado. We have to main some Spell and Trap Hate in this format, I've noticed, with the colossal amount of everything different that everyone's playing, but especially because this field spell exists. So in our main, we Dust Tornado that after setting the thing, so we don't have to deal with it. Of course, their defense is Blast Sphere, so it equips to the Battle Ox, and essentially nullifies that attack. We're going to have Kabazul swing into the other monster here, which is Dekoichi, but it doesn't save itself because the field spell is gone. What we've noticed mainly is once you kill the field spell in this deck, it becomes an entirely different game. In the draw phase, by the way, we flip Order to Charge because Blast Sphere would destroy the monster in the standby, and we have it tribute it to destroy the other monster our opponent controls, which is in fact another Blast Sphere, and then it's a quick, swift 34 to the face. So like I said, this deck can sit on a lot of control aspects and elements, and once it plays through that stuff and kind of nullifies the opponent, they're really locked into a corner. So we normal Battle Ox here. We don't actually play around the Windstorm. We haven't seen it yet. We kind of go in just to YOLO it. Worst case scenario, they have it. They have Spellbinding Circle, which is great and all, but it's not going to be enough to stop them. I do like Spellbinding Circle to an extent. I do think in combination with Windstorm is where it really shines. If you just play Spellbinding Circle, your opponent can play around it, no problem. But with that and Windstorm both in the same deck, you never know what they have, so you always want to switch something to defense mode. But at this point, we haven't seen them play Windstorm. We start the game off with Heat Wave, so neither player can normal or special summon effect monsters until your next turn. So they're forced to set, but that's kind of what the deck does. The reason we did that, though, is we opened 2 Heat Waves, so we might as well play it, and we might as well keep the theme going, because we don't have a direct out to the field spell yet. We're going to swing here. We're going to get a little cocky. They're going to Windstorm, so now we know they have the Windstorm. So moving forward, we might change how we attack into stuff. They're going to set Dekoichi here. If they could have normal summoned, I would have normal summoned a Dekoichi to swing over because it won't die once per turn, so then it makes it actually a problem to deal with. But the Heat Wave locked him out of that, so we normal our third normal monster and set Dust Tornado. Now we have the out to the field spell, but we're going to think about going in, then we pass because we figure it's probably better we just wait for Dust Tornado to pop the field spell. So they're going to set more defenses here. We kind of have the game locked. We draw Order to Charge, which is just a nail in the coffin. We're going to pop the field spell. We're going to set Order to Charge because we don't feel like we need it this turn. If they have a Blast Sphere, we'll deal with it on their turn, which they do. So Kabazul's tax it. And then on the end phase, they actually Dust Tornado our Order to Charge. So that was actually really strong on their part. They draw Sphere Karibo. Sphere's cute in this deck because when you have the field spell up and they think they've got 2 monsters to kill your monster that once per turn doesn't die by battle, you Sphere them, making it so that they can't actually out it as they thought they could, and you can set up your turns for the future. We're going to swing in here. Battle-Ox gets stuck under the Blast Sphere, but we're going to have Kabazol swing directly. They draw Core Destroyer. Core Destroyer is a great side deck card, but I think we have to main it right now because there's very few Dark Machines in the game that kind of work with your field spell. But if it battles a light monster, it automatically destroys it, which is cute. We're down to 600 off 2 of these damn Blast Spheres. So we're going to have Battle-Ox swing to try to kill it, to try to claim the game. We're going to swing for 17 there, and they're going to Sphere Karibo. So we don't have game, but it is now 600 to 300. They strew Blast Sphere. They set the Blast Sphere. Unfortunately, that's not going to be enough. We draw Eradicating Aerosol. This is the card I was talking about with the skill, where it turns everything insects. It doesn't work on face-down monsters, though, so keep that in mind. But that was the reason we were playing this, in case our opponent built too much of a board presence up where our 17 Beat 6 couldn't deal with it, or our Order to Charge and Heatwave couldn't control the game enough. We draw this, we pop their entire board, and then we summon our 17 Beat Sticks and beat face. But it didn't matter. They Blast Sphere, cool, we're going to swing for game. So that is the match in a nutshell. Both of these decks are very interesting. I think it would be very cool to see what you guys could come up with, if you can, to try to help these themes out. So these are the 2 deck lists real quick. This is my hint of vanilla. Like I said, we played 9 normal Beat Sticks. We're not playing X-Raider. We're playing Battle-Ox instead to play around RFI. More non-warriors is the way to go, I feel, currently. We could play some 1650s, but I like the 1700. It's just solid. But you could sub out Degreffer for High Tide Gyojin or whatever that winged beast thing. I forget its name. But yeah, we got the 2 Eradicating Aerosols because our skill turns everything into insects, so we can essentially Dark Hole if we need to. On face-up monsters, we're playing triple Heatwave to deal with controlling the board. We're playing triple Order to Charge because this card is ridiculous and it lets you control the game so insanely. Like, you can control basically the entire momentum of the game. In addition, we got the 2 Dust Tornadoes to deal with that, and 1 Jar of Avarice. I feel Jar of Avarice is a way to go in most decks in the future. Even if you just play 1, it allows you to recycle all of your stuff. It, insanely enough, relinquishes materials, which is insane to me. It gives you a lot more access to stuff you could use, and it lets it so that you don't have to deck out, especially if people still are going with the viral infection thing. Realistically, you're not going to deck out anymore because of Jar of Avarice. In the side, we have currently it's just pretty generic. We're siding 2 Night Beams. Any deck that doesn't play Dice Foon, I feel like should play Night Beam and or Dust Tornado at some capacity. So we're siding 2 Night Beams, 2 RFIs because I feel like this card's still really good in specific matchups, and 2 Security Orb. Siding this in mainly for decks that have a lot of heavy back row destruction because Night Beam now exists, and now we have Dice Foon and Dust Tornado and Twister. But Twister won't hit Security Orb. But Security Orb acts as a kind of a Sphere Karibo. However, it does target, so keep that in mind. But it switches something to defense mode. But it has the upside of if it is destroyed while face down, you can destroy 1 monster your opponent controls. So it kind of gives you a little bit more flexibility against heavy back row decks. But anyways, on to Heavy Metal Raiders, or Heavy Metal Boys as we've been calling it. We've got 2 Barrel Dragon, 3 Blast Sphere, 3 Dekoichi, 2 Core Destroyer, 3 Sphere Karibo, 3 7 Completed, 2 Spellbinding Circle, 2 Windstorm, and 1 Jar of Avarice. Again, this is 21. We've been messing around with numbers. I feel 21 is still as good as 20 in almost anything. It doesn't really make too much a difference, especially if you can draw through your deck. And while this deck doesn't have a direct search power, you can draw through Dekoichi, so that's very good. Barrel Dragon, we're playing 2 just because you can summon it for free off Heavy Metal Raiders. Blast Sphere is a BITCH for everyone right now. Dekoichi is a really good solid 1400 flip that says draw a card for free. And Core Destroyer deals with light monsters but also is another Dark Machine. We're having the Sphere Karibos act as more buffers to aid your Heavy Metal Raiders, or if Heavy Metal Raiders gets destroyed, you can also aid your monsters with that as well. In addition to using Spellbinding Circle and Windstorm, both 2 and 2, so your opponent never really knows what you have. And 7 Completed, basically all this card says is you equip it to a machine and it either gains 700 attack or 700 defense. You're mostly always going to use it on attack, but you can put it on defense since they don't die by battle once it's turn. It's cool. But what's great about that is that it can make any of your machines actual beat sticks, and you don't have to use the field spell to bypass that, but take damage first. And unless they have a clear direct out to something like that, it becomes a problem for the opponent really quickly. Again, in the side deck, pretty generic. We're playing Night Beams, ready for Interceptings, and Dust Tornadoes. We aren't maining Dust Tornado like we do in the other decks, so we sided that and Night Beam for big, heavy back row decks, such as Gravekeepers, and to a lesser extent, Relinquished, or Amazons, or something of that matter. But guys, tell me what you think in the comments down below. Obviously, these are the first drafts of both of these decks. It'll be interesting to see what we can do with cards moving forward and different strategies, as always. But of course, my name is YuGiBros. Comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys.